Step right up here, Angela. We're in
I hope I'm not stepping in
This
there.
happens to be a
Yeah,
live
way
video.
high
Well, now you're standing on top of
I know.
above me. What's happening here? We are actually
Probably
taking
in
a.
some sort of a
It's
nest.
it's late in the day here on a Friday afternoon, so we're not necessarily wrapping it up for the weekend, but
No.
we're certainly not running appointments this afternoon.
No.
And I finally cordoned Angela here just for a few minutes, who's not on appointments and not on the phone with working with the agents. Let me see if I can get you a little closer. Maybe, maybe not. Let me just see it. Hey, hold on a second. There we go. That's better.
Good.
That's better. So I got Angela here, like I said, on a Friday afternoon, and I thought I would catch her for a moment. A rare Friday afternoon video for us because we're generally out running around. As you can see, we're in our casual clothes here.
It's warm here.
It's warm in California, but I wanted to reach out, and we've been talking in the last couple of weeks. I asked Angela to put together the top 10 mistakes agents make in selling or preparing for an appointment. And I thought that'd be interesting to all of you. And we haven't done one of those, I don't think, in a long time. So, what would you say is the first thing on number one? Not in no particular order, because there are some things on the list here that I would put at the top. But we have a list here of 1 to 10 that she filled out for me. And so let's take the number 1. What do you think?
So I think one of the first mistakes that a lot of people make is they're not prepared for the appointment by knowing whatever their in-home presentation is. So whether it's the in-home presentation that whoever introduced you to this business, whoever your coach is, that they're training you on, or whatever presentation, maybe your IMO promotes or their top producers promote. Or wherever you've gotten your presentation from. I think that one of the biggest mistakes that people make is they're not prepared for what they're going to do when they get into the home, and they believe that having product knowledge, cramming all this product knowledge in their head is really that's what you're going to talk about in the home, and nobody cares about all of those little details. I had an agent ask me actually today.
We were talking about it earlier today when we were driving.
He said, well, what's the holdback percentage on an accelerated death or terminal illness rider or accelerated death benefit rider? What's the holdback amount, and what is the longevity percentages? And I said, you know what? I've never in my life had someone ask me that. I've had people ask me, what's the percentage that you can accelerate, but to dissect and dissect and dissect, you got to be careful of being an overthinker with those kind of details, product details, and not knowing how to explain the concepts when you're in the home with the client. So I think not being prepared for the in-home is
that's the key. I think there's nothing wrong with trying to understand the product.
Right.
But this is the people that succeed in this business in a large way keep it simple.
Yeah.
And also the illustrations are gonna on the riders and all that kind of stuff. You can print them off, read them through one time, and be educated well enough to be able to explain it at an 8th grade level in the home. Remember, if you're over 8th grade, most people aren't understanding what you're saying, and all you're gonna do is confuse them, and a confused mind does nothing but shut down.
And I think you have to also remember that people nowadays, I don't know about you, but our lives are crazy. Like all the time they're crazy, nonstop, between our business and our agents and our managerial responsibilities and doing videos and our own families and our grandkids, and oh my gosh, you're expecting that you're going to sit and explain all of these little minute details to somebody and they're going to be able to absorb all of them. They're not. They don't have the bandwidth for it anymore. So you've got to make sure that they understand the bigger concepts, because that's what people are concerned about.
Same with the living benefits. The living benefits are easy. It's critical injury, critical illness, and terminal illness. And I'll go through what those 3 categories mean, and what is a critical illness, what is a critical injury, what is a terminal illness, very quickly. You look at the list of some of the carriers. First of all, it's different from all the carriers, right? What they consider in each one of those categories. So again, most people understand if you've got 12 to 18 months left to live, that's a terminal illness, right? I mean, you don't really have to break it down to the minute detail, I don't believe. But again, the secret is to be able to explain it. And here's the other thing, is you knowing all those things as a new agent really isn't doing you any good, because it gets all jungled up in your brain. And like I said, a confused mind does nothing. And you sit down, I'd rather, and we have them in our business, I'd rather have agents that know absolutely nothing go out there, set their hair on fire, sell a bunch of policies, make a bunch of mistakes, because that's why we're here. Right? They call us in the home if they can't answer the question, or they don't know enough about that particular subject or question they're getting asked, and we help them answer it over the phone, rather than the reverse, which is the paralysis of analysis. They're sitting around trying to learn every detail about the riders, when that question rarely even comes up in the home, and they never actually go out and make any money. Because if you don't go out there and you don't get a win real quick and start cashing a check, getting a deposit in your bank account, the longer it takes for you to do that, winners win early. The longer it takes you to do that, the more likely you're putting your success at risk. Right? Would you agree with that?
Right, and I think so. That really is number one and number two, because number one is not being prepared for your in-home presentation. Number two is trying to know too much about the products. But I think going back to the presentation is, you have to. Your confidence will come from knowing your in-home presentation. Again, whatever in-home presentation you're going to use. And Steve learned, we downloaded the presentation that we were going to use from the person that taught it to us. And, we downloaded it and listened to it in the car. We had it playing, I would turn it on my phone and have it playing while I was cooking dinner. While I was sitting at my desk, it could be playing through my computer. You just have to immerse yourself in it, because that's where your confidence will come from. Knowing what you're going to talk about, knowing how to figure out what a person is looking for. If you're doing mortgage protection, knowing how to explain, the risks of fully underwritten. That's what you have to understand. Not some of these more minute details that, again, you should be able to, hopefully you have someone that you can reach out to when you're in the home. And, the questions that really are on people's minds, okay, how am I going to utilize, if you sell me a policy for $100,000, how is this going to help me? That's what they want. That's what you need to help work with people to figure out. Not, what's the second tier percentage in year 10, half percentage split from 3. Come on.
Yeah, that's
that kind of stuff people don't. I've never been asked that.
I never have. Well, only in an IUL or an annuity sale. And to be honest with you guys and gals out there, listen, keep this business simple. If you're going to work the leads-based sales part of our business, that stuff never comes up unless you're talking an advanced sale. And I would, again, keep it simple. If you're working the leads, they're not out there promoting IULs or complex products. They're promoting mortgage protection and final expense. What's mortgage protection? It is a term policy with living benefits attached and some disability, not disability income, disability in the fact that they can become disabled for longer than 6 months. The carriers pick up the payment and pay for keep the insurance payment paid for the next 30 years or up to age 95. What's a whole life? It means you're paying for it the whole life and you have coverage your whole life. These are the kind of questions. Remember, mortgage protection and final expense are just terms for a solution, right? So as an agent, if you're going to get in this industry, what you need to know is that we're not selling mortgage protection that the banks and the lenders sell, right? That's default insurance. What we're selling is mortgage protection, which is a solution backed by term insurance, right? Those are the kind of concepts you need to be able to understand and sell.
So that's number 3, is really know the basics.
Sorry, I'm jumping ahead here. So number one is
knowing your in-home presentation.
Yeah. Number 2 is
avoiding trying to know too much about the individual products.
Yeah. And number 3 is what? 3 was not knowing just the basics.
Number 3 is knowing the basics, like what is term insurance, what is whole life insurance. And I think the easiest way to understand this is all of what we do is mortgage protection. Initially, that's the concept. The concept is mortgage protection. And here's a good example for you. Tissues, right? Tissues is what all of them are. Whether you buy Kleenex or Puffs or, the store brand, they're all tissues, right? You use them to blow your nose, right? So mortgage protection is that bigger concept, okay? Term insurance, whole life insurance, final expense, IUL or an indexed universal life, those are all mortgage protection policies. Those are all things that can be used to protect the mortgage. But what you have to understand, and I think that sometimes I don't know if you have to draw it out on a piece of paper or what you have to do, but you really need to make sure that you understand the insurance differences. Do you understand what term insurance is? Take the mortgage protection concept out of it. That's just the big umbrella. Inside of that, we use things like term insurance, whole life insurance, IULs, final expense. We use all of those different things as a means to help somebody protect their mortgage and their home if something should happen to them. And in this industry, in our industry, as life insurance agents, we use life insurance products in order to do that, in order to protect someone's mortgage. Final expense is the same thing. Final expense is just a big concept. What is final expense? It's a way for someone, it's to use how to use a product in order to fund someone's final expenses, right? So we got to fund things like their burial costs or their cremation costs or moving costs for a surviving spouse or those types of things. And so what do we use to do that? We use things like final expense products, like whole life, simplified issue whole life, indexed universal life products. So understand, right, the specifics of what is term insurance. Term insurance is something that has a term attached to it. 15 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 30 years. Whole life. It's there for, like Steve said, it's there. You're going to pay for it your whole life. It's going to be there for your whole life. So understand, because there's nothing to me more frustrating than an insurance agent that keeps saying, well, I thought we were going to show them mortgage protection and you just kept sending me over term suggestions. Your education has got to be really knowing those basics, those real basics. I think that's really important.
Right,
so you sound intelligent.
Yeah,
right?
and we sell them we talk to them. We provide options for what they qualify for,
right?
Not necessarily what they ask for, because they don't know the business, right? They may want full coverage mortgage protection, can't qualify for it, can't afford it. So make sure you're working with somebody, because look, product selection is huge in this business. Number one and number two, in my opinion, is number one, you got to be able to convert a lead into an appointment. Period. That's far more important, right? Backed up with activity. Than product knowledge. Product knowledge should come as you're learning, right? Earning while you're learning. As long as you're working with somebody that leads from the front and actually is doing out there in the field, putting their name on applications that you can work with case by case, day to day, through that first 90 days, 6 months, or a year of your career, that's far more important than the IMO choice. That's equally as important, but you got to find the right mentor and coach with the right IMO that can help you every step of the way. Okay, so we're on number 4.
So number 4 is kind of a concept that some of you might not have access to. So if you have access to this, we think that it's super important, and that is, the ability to have somebody that you can call from the home.
Yeah.
When you're in the home and you start to panic, or when you're in the home and you get our most favorite response. Well, we need to think about it. Do you have somebody that you can reach out to, that can help provide some third-party documentation, some verbal third-party documentation, or kind of reinforce some of the things that you're talking about? And it really, theoretically, it should be whoever introduced you to the business, or whoever I know we don't like the word upline, but whoever your upline or your mentor or your coach is, whatever term.
Yeah, the upline may not know anything, but you got to find somebody that does. And that same rule applies. Look, it's learn knowledge, activity knowledge. I talk about this a lot. And you want to come in, you want to learn a little bit, go do something, get some experience, come back to that same mentor and coach and learn some more. That give and take, back and forth, will turn you into a great agent. It applies to how to handle objections on the phone as well. Look, no man or woman is an island. You've got to have somebody that can teach you the skills necessary to succeed in this business. Very, very, very important. And people underestimate that part of it. They want to just jump in, get their license, and go. And very few people come into business that have that natural ability to go out and conquer the world. You got to have somebody that can teach. Look, it's not a complicated business. It's actually a very simple business, but there are some moving parts, and having that relationship virtually assures and guarantees your success as long as you back all that up with activity, right? What's the next one? So moving along here.
So number 5
calling the home is huge, but again, you got to call from the home with somebody that number one allows you to do that. Number 2 knows what they're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Number 5 is not taking time to bond with your client, and this, I think, is we have seen so many agents that have made a dynamic kind of shift in their business or their closing ratio by being able to stop and take that time to bond with their clients and get to know them. If you don't like the word bond, get to know the person that you're sitting with, right? This person has been gracious enough to allow you into their home, to sit with you. You're a total stranger. You're somebody that they met over the phone. And to a certain extent, they're a stranger to you. And so I think that taking at minimum 10 or 15 minutes to just kind of have that dialogue. And if you're looking for things to talk about, if you're uncomfortable with that, if you're not used to it, you can start with things like, complimenting them on their home, or their property, or the city that they live in, or the neighborhood. Asking them how long, do you like living here? That's always a great way to get people talking. Asking them where they came from. Where did you move from? How long are you planning on living here? Find something on the wall.
Kids, sports,
The kids,
family, occupation,
the baseball team that they like,
recreation,
stuff that they like to do as a
connect with
hobby.
them somewhere. People buy for people they like, know, and trust. And many of us, they go in the home armed with a laptop or an iPad. They jump right to the numbers. They pull out technology, and you're dead. Technology kills agents in this business, because once you pull that phone out, or once you pull that iPad out, or sit there with your laptop and take 2 hours, people don't want you in the home that long, number one. And when you're staring at that computer, you're not focusing at them.
No, and
right?
when you hear that like, know, and trust, like does not mean that they opened the door and you didn't scream an obscenity at them and they go, okay, well, I like this person. To know you does not mean that, you had a name badge on so they know, oh, well, I know who you are. Your name is Steve. That's not knowing someone. Liking someone is feeling like this is somebody that I could trust, somebody that I could work with. This is somebody that's listening to me. This is somebody that I enjoy chatting with. I tell this story all the time. I had a woman that, she had just gotten a new greenhouse in her yard, and it was delivered the same day. And when I got to her house, I asked her, how's the greenhouse? And we ended up talking for an hour before we ever sat down to talk about, the insurance. And at that point, the insurance was kind of a foregone conclusion.
Absolutely.
Because I had just let her go on and on and on about this greenhouse that I really didn't have much of an interest.
Yeah, how do you build trust, people? It's very simple. 4-letter word: time. Same way you do with kids and your spouse, it's time. So take the time to get to know them. It's very easy. Stay away from politics, but if you get on politics, you better be a chameleon. And whatever their political aspirations are or opinions are, you're all for them. Thumbs up.
Our best advice is just to stay away from
with me.
it.
I'm gonna take this one.
It's not a positive place to be.
It's not, especially right now. So we live in such a polarized world that no one else's opinion matters other than your own. So the next thing I would have is number 7 is keep everything simple. When I go into a home, Angela creates a packet for me. I've got my cover sheet, I've got my worksheet, I got my lead sheet, I got my applications printed off, because I don't do tech. Okay, rarely do I do EAPs. I just don't, for a lot of reasons, and I can get into that on another call. It's not just about I don't like technology, because I do like technology, but in the home I don't like it. And I can certainly do it, and I can use the apps, but there's a reason why you shouldn't do it, and we'll get into that in another video. But whatever it is, keep it simple. Be organized when you go into that home. I mean, that's very, very important that you're not scrambling around, fumbling for things. Or, here's the other problem with EAPs is that we have many, and I heard you on the call just the other day, we got many agents that go into a home counting on an EAP, didn't bring applications. Your trunk should have a bin in it with all your applications by carrier in your trunk. Right, and even if you're going to do EAPs, you better have a paper application backup, because a lot of times they're not going to have.
Doesn't work.
Yeah, there's, and the worst thing you want to do is ask them, hey, can I borrow your Wi-Fi? All right, some places we go don't have Wi-Fi.
No Wi-Fi.
So if you go show up with just an iPad, you're out of coverage. Now you're driving all the way into town to a Kinko's. Keep it simple. Set yourself up for success, and make sure you have all your applications printed off in the trunk if you insist on doing the technology. Number 8, Angela, that's one for you. Not knowing how to use the monthly mortgage payment to self-finance expenses the whole life. Talk about it.
Okay, before I do that, let's do the other ones, because that one will take a couple of minutes. So number 7. So number 6 was not doing the packets your packets being organized. Number 7 is trying to keep it to 30 minutes. You gotta take your watch off. I tell my agents all the time. You should be in the appointment as long as it takes for you to spend some time bonding, go through your information, and do an application. And for us, that's typically 60 to 90 minutes. I can almost time it. I almost never have my watch on, and I'm almost always out on exactly 90 minutes.
I've been in one for 4 hours too. So
right.
But again, 90 minutes is a good average. Go ahead.
Showing too many options. When you do your worksheets, and I think we've talked about this before, you should have a simplified issue option if it calls for it in that situation, maybe something that's fully underwritten, and then maybe a final expense or a whole life option or a return of premium option. But I have some agents that want to go in, they want to show 50,000, 75,000, 100,000, 110,000. It's too many options. People's heads explode. So it's too much. Okay. Not knowing how to use the monthly mortgage payment to sell final expense. So you have to be, and I do not ask this when I'm booking the appointment, but here's what you should be able to do. You should be able, when somebody says, if all they qualify for is say like a final expense, maybe 10 or 20,000, I pull the calculator out on my phone and I say, Steve, how much is your mortgage payment every month? $1,000. Okay, so I take $10,000, right? I put in $10,000 and I divide that by $1,000. That's his mortgage payment, and that's 10, right? So that represents 10 months. And I say, your wife could now make 10 mortgage payments, right? She could cover the mortgage for 10 months, almost a year, which gives her time to figure out what to do. And you have to be able to break it down that simply, because otherwise people look sometimes at those figures and they go, well, what's $10,000 going to do for me? You got to show them what it will do for them. So I think that's a super, super important concept that most people don't spend any time on.
How many is that?
That's 9.
And number 10 is what?
Go to take the bathroom break.
Look, this is huge. And some of our agents do it. I think most of them all do. The successful ones do.
Yep.
If you're meeting with a couple, first of all, I don't do one-legged appointments. So if the couple's not there, I'm not there. I'm not presenting. I'm rescheduling. Number 2 is if I am working with a couple and sitting in front of a couple, they're not going to make a decision with your butt sitting at the table, right? You got to get up and go take a bathroom break or go out to the car, do whatever, excuse yourself, and give them time to talk, because the number one syllable in that room is not you. It's who, Ange?
Typically, it's the spouse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I can prove it over hundreds of calls that I've recorded while being in the house on my phone, so I can critique my own self. I hear the dialogue going back and forth, and the other spouse is saying, "Honey, I know we can't afford this." And she's saying, or he's saying, we have to afford this, because if something happens to me, you can't survive here. You can't keep the home. You and the kids are out on the street. See, that's huge. Third party, verification, and it means something. I want each spouse to identify where they think that they're weak and at risk. And it's look, in today's economy, it takes 2 incomes to pay 1 mortgage. So somebody's at risk if they lose their major breadwinner, and plus the loss of income that you never get back. That's 10. And we are staying in the backyard, and I keep looking down at my feet because I do not like snakes.
There's a bird over under this bush.
Yeah.
It's playing with something.
Haven't seen a snake yet, but we did see one last week, a California king snake.
It's making Steve a little nervous.
So now I have snakes in my mind. If it's larger than a lizard, I'm out. Any final thoughts?
And we're out.
And you drop your notes.
Oh, sorry.
And you want your Starbucks? Any final notes?
Yeah, I need the rest of my Starbucks. No, I think that's
Angela says she hates doing videos, but I get a lot of compliments when I have you up on the videos. I appreciate you coming by. I know you got a couple of more things that you're going to talk about. It's hot. It's hot. 100 degrees in Northern California today. Hope all you're going to have a great, fantastic weekend. And man, if you're licensed and you have access to leads and you have access to some good training, and we just came out with a 27-page step-by-step training manual for our new agents that is packed full of documents and videos and all the good stuff that really launches them on their success. Find something like that and get out there and make July matter. We still have a lot of 2019 left. This is going to be a phenomenal year in our industry. I think it's going to be the biggest year in final expense ever. No reason to sit by the sideline. No, as I told somebody the other day, Angela, no window shopping. All right.
Cool. Bye, guys.
Bye. Love to have you. Grateful. Hey, do everything the YouTubers say, right? The YouTubers say, mash the subscribe button, hit the bell, Give me a thumbs up if you like the comment, especially if you liked Angela's comment, the content, not comment, and leave us a comment. All right? We enjoyed
Bye.
doing this. Bye-bye now.